Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Q&I class. My name is Dr. Meghna Garg and I'm biology faculty at Q&I. Students, am I audible? Good morning, Ragul,
Yes,
Devimaya,
ma'am, audible.
Raghavi. Okay, thank you for responding. Okay, so now let's begin the class. We had already covered this, we had already begun this life processes and nutrition. We have already discussed in this. So, do you have any doubts from the nutrition topic? Any doubts, anyone from nutrition? If you have any doubts, have you understood the digestion occurring in small intestine, in large intestine, in stomach, everywhere? Okay. So for today's topic, you should understand or you should now be aware that what exactly is the purpose of nutrition in human beings. If I ask you this here, that what is the purpose of nutrition in human beings, what would be your answer? Eventually, why are you digesting things? Why are you digesting complex molecules into simpler molecules? What's the purpose of this? Why is it happening in your body?
Ma'am, can you please repeat the question?
Yes, yes, please. क्या बोला रागुल? What did you say?
Ma'am, can you please repeat the question?
Okay, my question is that why exactly digestive system is working? Why is it necessary for complex molecules to be digested into simpler molecules? Why? Why this process is happening? Why the process of digestion is happening? Anyone? Any answers? Raghavi, if you want to answer, you can unmute yourself. Okay, Raghavi is saying it provides energy which helps us to do some function. Raghavi, your answer is correct, but my question was okay, what I want to ask you people, okay, try and understand what exactly am I asking. We know that you have complex food. Wait. Okay, my question is that we have complex food. Wait, please, everyone. Yes, we have this complex food present with us. This complex food is converted into simpler food molecules. Okay, simpler food which are now utilized by our body, okay, for obtaining energy. I'm saying why is this process occurring? Why complex food is getting
Ma'am,
converted into simpler food?
ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am, if the complex food directly goes to our bloodstream or in our body, it will be tough to be alive.
Yes.
So it is
Yes, very good. Very
converted
good.
into simple.
Yes, very good. So what happens that complex food cannot be directly digest, it cannot be directly absorbed into our bloodline, into our bloodstream. Simpler food molecules will be absorbed through villi, they will enter into the blood circulation. So for example, if you are taking carbohydrates, for example, you were taking starch, then it needs to be converted into glucose and then this glucose will be absorbed into your blood and then it will be taken to the cells of the body and inside the cells now this glucose will be used for obtaining energy. So these complex foods they need to be broken down into simpler food. Why? So that their absorption can be made possible into the bloodline, okay, into the bloodstream. Now, today we are going to talk about respiration. So you can expect one question from this. So today we are going to talk about exchange of gases, cellular respiration. Okay. Now, moving ahead, what exactly is respiration? So a person. A person is asking, okay, the teacher is asking what is respiration, and the student is saying that respiration is basically a process of taking in oxygen and giving out carbon dioxide. Is it so? So, no, this is not respiration. See, oxygen is going in, carbon dioxide is getting out. This is respiration. So, the teacher is saying that no, this is not respiration. This is called as breathing. Yes, this is not respiration. This is called as breathing. So, breathing is basically a part of respiration. Breathing only and only involves exchange of gases. Breathing refers to exchange of gases. Okay, very important. That breathing refers to exchange of gases only. Now, the student is asking, then what is respiration? What exactly is respiration? So, respiration is what basically, so oxygen is entering through the lungs. This is again a part of breathing. Now, from the lungs, this oxygen from the lungs, now this oxygen is entering into your blood. This is shown here is your blood. Okay. And now this oxygen is getting delivered to the cells. And in cells, you have this particular organ present, cell organelle present, which is called as mitochondria. I hope you people know about cell organelles. You have already read this in class 9th.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Which cell organelle is called as the powerhouse of the cell?
Mitochondria.
Ribosome. She said.
No, Raghul. Joven, Alan, what's your answer? Mitochondria, yes. So mitochondria, the image which is shown to you here, this image is of a mitochondria. Mitochondria, they are called as powerhouse of the cell. So why they are called as powerhouse of the cell? If you could recall from class 9th, that the mitochondria produces ATP for the cell, ATP. So see, how is this ATP getting produced? You are taking what? You are taking. See, now there are two processes which are occurring. Students, please notice that through the process of digestion, okay, through the process of digestion, starch was getting converted into glucose. And now this glucose was absorbed into blood. Okay. And now through the blood. So now let's say this glucose was absorbed into the blood here. So I'm showing it here because this is the bloodline, bloodstream. Now from here, the glucose now gets delivered to various cells of the body, and particularly inside the cell, the glucose now it is being taken up by mitochondria. It is being digested by mitochondria here. Okay. So now glucose has also entered, or you can say glucose is also now present where it is now being broken down where in mitochondria. And now oxygen which you had taken, okay, this was from breathing. You have two separate systems working here. One was digestion and one is breathing, which is occurring through nose. Now breathing, you are taking in oxygen. This oxygen also is now entering into your blood, and it is finally getting delivered to the cells of the body. And finally, oxygen is being utilized where? By the again mitochondria. So from two different systems of the body, one is digestive system and one is respiratory system. The final outcome of both the systems working is that eventually the oxygen through the respiratory system, the oxygen will enter into blood and it will be delivered to cells. Similarly, digestive system, glucose will be entering into blood, and from blood finally it will be delivered to the cells of the body. So the end products of two important systems of human, they are all eventually being delivered to the blood, and from blood they are being eventually released to the various cells of the body. Clear? Have you understood what am I trying to say here? That the end products of two important systems, their products are being finally delivered to the cells of the body. Clear? Have you understood this? Devime has understood. Raghul, Raghavi, Joven, Alan, have you understood this? This is important. Okay, Alan, Joven, have you also understood this? Joven? Okay, now what will happen? Now see glucose that is present inside mitochondria, and now oxygen is also present inside mitochondria. Now this oxygen, okay, now this oxygen is entering inside the mitochondria. Now using this oxygen, this glucose will be broken down. So in mitochondria, the food, and by food we meant glucose, which was coming from digestive system. Okay. So now this food is broken down with the help of this oxygen to release energy in the form of ATP. So there are so many ATP products which are being formed. See, so many ATP are formed. Apart from ATP, you have certain byproducts also formed, and these byproducts are your water and your CO2. Okay, so now these byproducts, carbon dioxide. So water can be used by the cell also for its various metabolic reactions, or in the form of humidity, or you can say in other ways water can be removed, whereas carbon dioxide, it will go to the cells again, then enter into blood through lungs, it will be exhaled out. Some amount of water is also exhaled out in the form of vapors through our respiratory tracts. So you can see that exactly what is the purpose of digestion. Now if I ask you students that what exactly is the purpose of digestion, or what exactly is the purpose of breathing in your body, now you can see it at a cellular level, that we are eventually digesting food. We are taking food so that it can be converted into simpler molecules. These simpler molecules will enter into our blood. From blood, it will be delivered to various cells of the body, and here cells will finally break down this using oxygen. Now where this oxygen is coming? Oxygen is again coming from the respiratory system. So through respiratory system, oxygen is going in. From the lungs, it is entering into the blood. Blood then will deliver it to the various cells of the body. And finally, this glucose will be broken down in the presence of oxygen in the mitochondria. Clear? Clear, everyone? Understood?
Yes, ma'am, clear.
Okay. Now, depending upon the presence or absence of oxygen, that whether oxygen is present or whether oxygen is absent, respiration is of two types. Okay, so yes, once your food has reached to the various cells of the body, it is also a possibility that in the required amounts oxygen might not be entering. Okay, so if the respiration is taking place, so respiration is what? Respiration refers to the breathing plus the breakdown of glucose, okay, to generate ATP. If someone asks you what is respiration, respiration is basically breakdown of glucose by cells to generate ATP. And now this respiration can occur either in the presence of oxygen, mostly in humans. Okay, you can say majority of oxygen takes place in the presence of oxygen only. Very few times respiration takes place in the absence of oxygen. If it is taking place in the presence of oxygen, that means if the glucose is getting broken down in the presence of oxygen, then you call it as aerobic respiration. However, so once again, aero means in the presence of air. Okay. However, anaerobic respiration refers to the breakdown of glucose, in absence of oxygen. Anaero, yani an means absent. Air is absent. Okay. That means in the absence of oxygen. Okay. Particularly by air, we mean oxygen here, to be more specific, because eventually glucose is broken down in the presence of oxygen. Okay, air might have more gases present in it. Now, breathing is basically a part of respiration. It is only facilitating the exchange of gases. It involves exchange of gases only. So, actual respiration refers to the release of energy inside the cells. So that's why, since this actual respiration is occurring inside the cells of the body, that's why we can also call it as cellular respiration. Okay. Now, respiration has two phases. So now we have understood that breathing is a part of respiration. The actual respiration is occurring inside the cells. We are calling it as cellular respiration. So based on this, we have classified two different phases of respiration. One is external respiration. External respiration simply refers to the breathing process. Okay. Whereas simply breathing, where only exchange of gases is taking place. breathing, simple. That is external respiration. Whereas one which is occurring inside these cells, it is occurring inside the cells, okay, which was cellular respiration. You call cellular respiration also as internal respiration, okay. So in breathing or in external respiration, there is only exchange of gases in the particular pathway, whereas in your actual internal respiration, there is release of ATP. Clear? Have you understood this? What are the two types of respirations and what are the two phases of respirations? Understood? External and internal respiration? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, breathing or external respiration, it takes place in the respiratory system of the body. So respiratory system, we mean, I will tell you in later slides what exactly is the respiratory system. So respiratory system simply means that you are taking in air, and when the air is entering inside your body, it follows a passage. So that passage is called as respiratory system. We will discuss this in later slides of today's class only. Whereas cellular respiration, it takes place inside the cell, and where exactly further inside the cell? Inside the mitochondria. Okay, so the site of both the respiration phases is also different. I hope everyone has noted down this. Everyone has noted down this? Okay, everyone else, Jovan, Alan, Ragul, Devimaya, please write down this. If you want time,
Ma'am,
I
1
can.
minute.
Yes,
One
yes,
minute,
yes.
please.
Yes, yes, yes. Take your time.
Done, ma'am.
Done? Okay. Now, let us study breathing, which is exchange of gases in detail. Now, let's focus at how exactly the exchange of gases takes place. Okay. So, for this, we will first study the exchange of gases in animals. So different animals, they have different organs for breathing. Okay. For example, gills that is present in aquatic animals, particularly fishes. So all of you can take a moment here to laugh. You can see a fish here. Okay, that is scrubbing itself, that is cleaning itself. So I think all of you have a smile on your face. Yes or no? Are you finding it funny? I find it funny. That's why I've kept this, because I do not want my class to be a simple lecture. I always encourage my students that you laugh also. Okay. Now, so these are gills which are present in fishes. Their organs, their respiratory organs are gills. Okay. Next, lungs. Mostly terrestrial organisms or terrestrial animals means which live on land. Aquatic animals means which live in water. Okay, so most organisms which live on land, their respiratory organs are lungs. Yes. Next, skin. Yes, sometimes even skin can also serve as mode of respiratory organ. And you have amphibians. Amphibians, example, frogs. Okay, now amphibians, they can also respire through their moist skin. Okay, so these are different modes or different organs of breathing which are present in different animals. Okay, now let's solve this question, everyone. Yes, everyone, solve this question. Okay, Raghul, Raghavi, Evimaya, Alan, very good. Joven, very good. So yes, the correct answer to this is option number C, frogs. Very good. Well done, everyone. Now let's understand that how does exchange of gases occurs in aquatic animals. Let's talk about first of all fishes. Okay. Now aquatic animals, let's discuss this in general first of all. Now this question had been asked previous years also in board examinations, and there is a probability that this might be asked according to the pattern which we had been studying. So what happens, board usually does not pick questions or board sometimes pick questions from very meaningful concepts, okay, from very small one liner things which are mentioned in your NCRT, and you just simply scroll through that without even paying much notice to it. So this is one such statement which I feel that is particularly important for your board examinations. So exchange of aquatic animals, let's see what exactly is the difficulty which aquatic animals face in their breathing. Okay, now aquatic animals, they have to eventually take up oxygen for their respiratory purposes. But now imagine yourself, if you are present in water, which oxygen will you be utilizing? According to you people, oxygen is present in air. If you are not present in air, how will you take up the oxygen? So the answer to this is that oxygen is also present in dissolved form in water. Yes. So aquatic animals, they have to rely on that dissolved oxygen which is present in the water. Okay. So for this, see, oxygen, some amount of oxygen is also dissolved in water. The solubility of oxygen in water is, however, much lower. That means the oxygen concentration which is present in the water is much lower than the concentration of the oxygen which is present in the air. Why? Because the solubility of oxygen in water is much low. Okay, in air, oxygen is present in free form. However, in water, it has to be dissolved. And this dissolvability is actually very low. That's why the concentration of oxygen in water is much lower as compared to the oxygen of the concentration of the oxygen in your air. Clear? Now, you can see the oxygen concentration in the air, it is much higher than the oxygen concentration in the water. It is much lower than that. That's why the rate of breathing is faster in aquatic animals. Very, very important. If this question gets asked to you that why is the rate of breathing in faster in aquatic animals? Why? Because see what happens now. Let's understand this. Suppose what happens, you are taking up food. Okay. Now, when you are taking food, there are two persons. One person in one meal can eat the required amount of food and obtain energy from it. Whereas there is second person, if in one meal the person is unable to take up the full portion, the required portion, and because of certain problems, the person can have only a limited meal at that time. So what will the second person do to meets it requirements? What will the second person do? It will have food repeatedly. Won't it be like this? It will have food, the person will have food repeatedly. In shorter periods of time, the person will eat food repeatedly. If you have fixed a diet of person that you cannot eat more than half chapati, however, the requirement of the person is 10 chapatis. So very frequently, the person will be eating half chapatis over the period of time. Won't it be like this? Yes or no? Won't it be like this? However, if you have given the daily requirement to a person that you have to eat 10 chapatis, and if the person is able to divide it into two slots, 5 chapatis and 5 chapatis, or the person is able to even eat it at once. Okay. So similar thing is occurring here, that the rate of breathing becomes faster in the aquatic animals because in one go they cannot take in the required amount of oxygen because the dissolved oxygen in water is very low. So that's why their rate of breathing is faster. Okay, this is very, very important concept. Have you people understood this? Have you people understood this? Yes or no? Unmute yourself and say yes or no.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
okay, Devimaya, okay. Ragul, have you understood this? Okay. Ragul, I'm getting your voice very low, okay, but it's okay. Now, you can see various animals which are present in the water. And now let's focus on fish. So now see, fish. Which respiratory organ did I just tell you that fishes have what? Which respiratory organ do fishes have? Gills, yes. So now these gills are present here. You can see this brush border here. I think all of you can see this. These blue colored structures, these are gills. Okay, so now these gills have the responsibility of exchanging water, of exchanging, sorry, oxygen, of exchanging gases from the dissolved oxygen which is present in the water. These are your gills. Please note this, these blue colored structures, feather like structures which you can see from here, these are your gills. Okay, now let's see exactly how does gills perform this function. So now oxygen rich water through the mouth is taken in. So the fish is taking water from the mouth, and along with this water, oxygen is also entering inside because oxygen is dissolved in water. Okay. Now, once this oxygen rich water enters inside the mouth, then it is spread or it is released onto the gills from the inner side. It is released onto the gills like this. Okay, from the inner side. So it is now being released over the gills. Now the gills, from the gills, okay, now the gills, water has been spread over them, water is being passed through them from the inside. Now from this water, the gills take up oxygen, and this oxygen enters into the blood. Okay, and parallelly, the blood, the utilized blood by the fish's body will have a more concentration of carbon dioxide. So in the gills area only, the carbon dioxide from the blood. Okay, so now you have blood and you have water. Okay, now from the gills only, the oxygen from the water will enter into the blood, whereas the carbon dioxide from the blood will, through the gills, it will enter into the water. Okay, so that type of exchange is occurring here. Once the water is made to pass through the gills, now the oxygen from the blood, oxygen from the water, it will enter into the blood, and carbon dioxide from the blood will enter into the water. Okay, and now finally what will happen? So you can see oxygen rich water is going inside, and carbon dioxide along with the water, now carbon dioxide. Now this water will have carbon dioxide in it, carbon dioxide rich in water, and then this is expelled out of the gills, expelled out from the gills. So that's how this process is occurring. The oxygen rich water is entering from the mouth, and the gills, from the gills, now finally carbon dioxide rich water is being made to exit. Please remember this, that the carbon dioxide rich water is exiting from the gills, not from the mouth. In humans, we take up oxygen from the nose, and also carbon dioxide is exhaled out from the nose only. But here oxygen rich water is entering from the mouth, whereas carbon dioxide rich water is coming out from the lungs, from the gills, coming out from the gills. Clear? Is it clear to everyone? Have you understood this? Okay. Everyone else? Raghavi has answered, Ragul has answered, Jobin, Alan, Devi Maya, have you understood? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. Now, this process where it is occurring that carbon dioxide is moving into the water, oxygen is entering into the blood, this process is occurring through simple diffusion. Okay. Now, if you could recall your class 9th, there you had studied diffusion. Diffusion simply means that something is getting diffused from the region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration. So here the oxygen's concentration was more in water. So from here it was getting entered into the blood because the blood had a lower oxygen concentration, whereas carbon dioxide was present more in blood. So from here now the carbon dioxide will enter into the water because the water was less in concentration in terms of carbon dioxide. Okay, so this diffusion basically refers to the movement of gases from the region of higher concentration to the region of their lower concentration. Now This we have already discussed, that the concentration of oxygen is more in water as compared to blood. So oxygen enters the blood. Whereas the concentration of carbon dioxide is more in blood as compared to water. So carbon dioxide enters the water. Now solve this question, everyone. Okay, Raghavi, Raghul, Joven, okay, good. Devi Maya, good. Who has not answered? Alan. Alan, your answer? Alan, your answer, bache? Option number C, yes. So the correct answer to this is option number C, gills. Okay. Now let's see how does exchange of gases occurs in terrestrial animals. So now terrestrial animals, since they have access to air, so now they will take up oxygen from the air. Okay. Now, the respiratory organs in different animals are different, but the process of diffusion is common. So again, whether it is occurring in humans, whether it is occurring in fishes, the only thing which is common is that the diffusion process. That means the gases will diffuse from the region of high concentration to the region of low concentration. Now, humans particularly, they have special structures, or we can say in every animal, whether it is birds, whether it is humans, whether it is some other animals present on land, since they have to take up oxygen from the air, so their respiratory organs are such designed that it increases the surface area of exchange, so that more oxygen can be exchanged, or more oxygen can be taken up from the environment, from the air. So all organisms somehow present on the land, using the respiratory organs, they have increased their surface area for exchange of gases. Now, so this we have already discussed. Now, these structures are delicate, so they are placed within the body. Like in humans, the lungs are placed inside the body. Now, the process of respiration occurs in a special system, which is called as respiratory system. Respiratory system marks the site for external respiration. This I have just told you, that the external respiration, it takes place in respiratory system of the body. Okay. Now, what is this respiratory system? So the human respiratory system consists of, first of all, nostrils, then you have pharynx, then you have larynx, which is also called as voice box. Then you have trachea, which is also called as windpipe. And then you have bronchi. And from the bronchi, you have small bronchioles. Okay, so please remember this sequence. Now we will discuss it in detail one by one. So first of all, let's talk about nostrils or nose. Exactly what is happening here. So nostrils, this is basically a pair of openings which are present at your nose. Okay, these are a pair of openings. These openings are called as nostrils, and this is your nose. This is the air passage. Now from the nostrils, what is happening? The air enters inside from this nose. Now this air, when it is passing through the nostrils, what will happen? This nostrils, these air passage inside the nose, that is lined by very fine hair. Okay, so inside of the nose, that is lined by very fine hair. I think all of you must have seen your nasal hair. Most of the times while cleaning our nose, we see that we have hairs present inside our nasal cavity. Most of you have seen that. Yes or no? If no, by chance, then please look into the mirror. Okay, you'll see that you have hair lined up inside your entire nasal cavity. Okay, thankfully, yes. So these fine hair, what's their role? These fine hair, so the air is entering inside through the nose, and this fine hair, they filters the nose, filters the air. Now, what exactly do you mean by filtering of air? So apart from filtering, the air becomes also moist and warm. Okay, and what exactly do you mean by filtering? Filtering basically also refers to trapping of certain dust particles or other unwanted particles which might enter inside your nose along with the air. Okay. Now inside the nose, you have special mucus secreting cells also. So that's a mucus secreting cell which is shown to you here, and the green colored liquid which is shown to you top at the mucus. So this nasal cavity that is also lined by hair, and it is also lined by mucus secreting cells from which mucus is continuously getting secreted. Okay. Now this mucus will trap all the dust particles which are entering inside your nose, and also they will also trap any microbes or pathogens which might enter inside your nose by chance. Now the respiratory tract includes nostrils. So from nostrils, you have taken up the air. It has now entered inside your nasal cavity. Then from the nostrils, the air enters inside your pharynx. Okay. Now see this. This is pharynx shown to you here. Pharynx is the common passage for opening of both food, that is mouth, and also for air cavity. So at the back of your throat, if you can see, now once this class is over, what you should do, what I will suggest is that you go and open your mouth and see yourself in the mirror, that your air passage is also opening from the above at the back of your throat, and also food you are entering, that is also entering into the same passage at the back of your throat. So that common passage is called as pharynx. So pharynx is serving as the common passage for both mouth and also for nose. Okay. Now from the pharynx, finally, what will happen? Now after pharynx, larynx will come. So now this air, now the food will go enter inside the esophagus. This is esophagus. So the food will enter inside the esophagus, but the air will enter into the different part. The air will enter into the windpipe. So initially you will encounter a larynx. Larynx is also called as voice box. So once air passes through it, okay, once air passes through it, then only it leads to vibration of cords which are present in larynx, and that's how you produce sound. Okay. So that is called as larynx. Now below the larynx, you have trachea. Trachea is the actual windpipe. Okay. And you can see some structures. You can see some C-shaped rings which are present on the trachea. Okay. These rings, they are called as C-shaped cartilaginous rings. C-shaped cartilaginous rings. What do you mean by C-shaped? C-shaped basically refers to the incomplete cartilaginous rings. The complete would be like this. However, if you're removing some portion of it, then it will be cartilaginous. Then it will be C-shaped like this. Incomplete cartilaginous rings. Okay. So the trachea has rings of cartilage. Now, what's the purpose of this rings? What happens in absence of air? If you have stopped your breathing for a certain time, okay, then at that time, in the absence of air, your windpipe can collapse. It can collapse. To maintain the structure of the windpipe intact, even in the absence of air, there are C-shaped cartilaginous rings present. So they will prevent collapse of trachea in absence of air. Is it clear to everyone? Have you understood? Is it clear to everyone? Have you understood this? Yes or no? Yes? Okay. Now this is your trachea. Now the trachea gets divided into two parts. So you have now one thing, I'm again see. Now this is the right lung. So this will be right bronchi. The trachea now divides into right bronchi and it divides into left bronchi. Okay, so bronchi are now the major branches which are arising from the trachea. Now inside the lungs, finally, these bronchi will be divided into smaller sections, and these are called as bronchioles. Okay, so now the left and right bronchi, they enter inside the left and right lung respectively, and then they will be further subdivided into bronchioles. And finally, the bronchioles, as you can see from here, the bronchioles are now terminating into such structures, such bag-like structures, which are called as alveoli. Okay, so such structures, such balloon-like structures which are present at the terminal endings of bronchioles, they are called as alveoli. Now these are small balloon-like sacs, and alveoli are the exact sites where your exchange of gases takes place. It is the exact site where exchange of gases takes place. Very, very important. Okay, understood everyone? Have you understood this, everyone? Okay, everyone else, Raghavi, Alan, Jovin, Devi Maya. Now, below the respiratory, below the lungs, you have a structure present which is called as diaphragm. So this yellow structure which you can see from here, this is your diaphragm. Now, solve this question, everyone. Students, we have a practice session immediately after this, but I'll take another 2 to 3 minutes more to complete this part and then we will start the practice session. Okay, everyone, I think I have received everyone's answer. So yes, the correct answer is option number A. Yes, well done, everyone. Option number A is the correct answer. Now, the lungs are located in the thoracic cavity. That means in the chest. Okay, so these are your lungs which are present in your thoracic cavity, which is your chest. And what happens exactly, how does the process of breathing takes place? So students, what happens, see from here, you have a diaphragm which is present just below the lungs. So whenever we have to take in air, at that time what is happening, the diaphragm, this diaphragm is a structure which is present like this. Okay, please everyone, this is very important. Diaphragm is present like this. Okay, and above that you have your lungs present like this. Okay, you have your lungs present like this. What happens when we talk about this diaphragm? When the air has to come inside, when the air, it has to come inside, what will happen at that time? This diaphragm, it will go down, it will flatten. Once it will flatten and the rib cage, this rib cage will be lifted up. This rib cage, which will be surrounding the lungs, this will be lifted up and this diaphragm flattens. It comes down like this. Once it flattens, it will obviously increase the area of thoracic cavity. Once it flattens, the thoracic cavity area would be increased, and that's how air gets sucked in. Air enters inside the lungs. Once we are exhaling out the air, this diaphragm will go back to its normal position and the and the rib cage will come down to its again back normal position. So please always remember this, that while we are breathing in the air, the diaphragm goes down, the diaphragm flattens and the rib cage gets lifted up. And because of this, uh, the thoracic cavity area increases, and because of this, finally, the air enters inside the lungs. Okay, please remember this, that the diaphragm flattens. Solve this question, everyone. This is the last question for today's class, and then we will be moving to the practice session. Okay, very good, everyone. The correct answer is option number A, diaphragm. Now let's conclude. So in today's class, we have seen the respiratory organs in animals. Okay, and also what we have seen, we have discussed the mechanism of breathing. In humans. Okay, now in next class, we are going to talk about cellular respiration. Okay, from this sure shot, you can expect at least one question in boards. Very, very important.